So he wiped his tears, he turned his face and wiped his tears because he did not want his wife to see that how he was feeling more emotional. And his wife also did not speak a word, but a soft feeling crept into her heart. Look at her kindly, Jane. Speak to her kindly, said Joe. Think of her dead mother and the loneliness, the pain, the sorrow that must be on all her coming life. The softness of his heart gave unwanted eloquence to his lips. Now, since he was feeling so much compassion for the child, so this emotion which was present in Mr. Joe Thompson immediately gave words to his lips, and he started speaking to his wife again that you can look to her, look at her kindly, speak to her kindly, and think about the life that she would be struggling for without her mother. She is a motherless child, and how her life would be, the upcoming life of her would be without mother. Mrs. Thompson did not reply, but presently turned towards a little chamber where her husband had deposited Maggie, and pushing open the door, went quietly in. Joe did not follow. He saw that her state had changed and felt that it would be best to leave her alone with the child. Now, Mrs. Thompson, she instead of replying him, went to that chamber where Maggie was lying, and she entered into the room. Now, Joe did not follow her. He wanted to leave her alone with Maggie. So he went to his shop, which stood near the house, and worked until dusky evening released him from labor. So, till the end of the evening, he was working in his shop, and he did not care to look at what Mrs. Jane Thompson was doing with Maggie. A light shining through the little chamber windows was the first object that attracted Joe's attention on turning towards the house. It was a good omen. The path led him by his windows, and when opposite, he could not help pausing to look in. It was now dark enough outside to screen him from observation. Maggie lay a little raised on the pillow with lamp shining full upon her face. Mrs. Thompson was sitting by the bed talking to the child, but her back was towards the window so that her countenance was not seen. From Maggie's face, therefore, Joe must read the character of their intercourse. He saw that her eyes were intently fixed upon his wife, that now and then a few words came as if in answers from her lips, that her expression was sad and tender, but he saw nothing of bitterness or pain. A deep drawn breath was followed by one of relief as a weight lifted itself from his heart. Now, when he returned, in the evening when he was working in the shop, he could see a light shining from the window of that little chamber in the evening, and it was a good omen for him that something good was happening at his house. So he tried to move towards the windows and he tried to look what was happening inside the room when he reached to his house. And since it was dark enough, so he could be screened from them, nobody could look at him. And he tried to peep inside. He saw that Maggie was sitting a little raised up with the pillow behind her, and his wife was talking to her, but he could not see the face of his wife. But from the expressions of Maggie, he could make out what type of conversation was it. Her face was sad. Maggie's face was sad and gloomy, but the conversation and the way in which she nodded her head and was talking, it seemed as if she was talking something general to his wife, and there was no feeling of bitterness or pain on her face. So he felt a little relaxed. On entering, Joe did not go immediately to the little chamber. His heavy head treaded about the kitchen brought his wife somewhat hurriedly from the room where she had been with Maggie. Joe thought it best not to refer to the child nor to manifest any concern in regard to her. Now, when he reached to the main door of the house, he did not enter into that room. He went directly to the kitchen, and due to his heavy steps, his wife knew that he had come back. So she also hurried to the kitchen, but he did not feel like mentioning anything about Maggie or talking about her. How soon will supper be ready? He asked. He just asked only about the time when supper would be ready. Right soon, answered Mrs. Thompson, beginning to bustle about. There was no asperity in her voice. She said that immediately I'll serve it, and she kept on working about in the kitchen, but there was no feeling of roughness or sternness in her voice. After washing from his hands and face the dust and soil of work, Joe left the kitchen and went to the little bedroom. A pair of large bright eyes looked up at him from the snowy bed, looked at him tenderly, gratefully, pleadingly. How his heart swelled in his bosom. With what a quicker motion came the heartbeats. Joe sat down and now for the first time examining the thin frame carefully under the lamplight saw that it was an attractive face and full of a childish sweetness which suffering had not been able to obliterate. Now when he had washed his hands and face by removing all the soil and dust that was from the work, he decided to go to that little bedroom where Maggie was lying. When he entered, he saw the large bright eyes of Maggie looking at him in a grateful manner, as if she was thankful to him to have brought her there. He sat beside her, and under the lamplight, he could see that how attractive she was and how innocent her face was, even though she was living in a poor condition, but her innocence was never obliterated or was never washed out due to that hard sufferings of her life. Your name is Maggie, he said, as he sat down and took her soft little hand in his. He took her hands, soft little hands, and asked her, Your name is Maggie? Yes, sir. Her voice struck a chord that quivered in a low strain of music. Have you been sick long? Yes, sir. What a sweet patience was in her tone. Has a doctor been to see you? Now he asked a general thing that have you been sick for a long? Then she said yes, and then he asked that whether the doctor had recently come to see you. He used to come, but not lately. No, sir. Have you any pain? Sometimes, but not now. When had you pain? This morning my side ached and my back hurt when you carried me. Now he said that it means that lately the doctor has not come to see you. Do you have pain? She said no, not now. Then he said that when was the last time when you felt pain? She said that this morning when you picked me up, so by the side and at the back, I had a great pain. It hurts you to be lifted or moved about? Yes, sir. Your side doesn't ache now? No, sir. Does it ache a great deal? Yes, sir. But it hasn't ached any since I've been on this soft bed. Then he asked her that are you feeling that means if anybody picks you up then you feel a lot of pain. She said yes. Then he asked that are you feeling pain presently at the side of your this body? Then she said no. Since I have been lying on the soft bed, now I'm not feeling any pain. The soft bed feels good. Oh yes, sir, so good. What a satisfaction mingled with gratitude was in her voice. This means that she felt very nice while lying on that soft bed, and then her voice in which she sounded yes sir it feels good showed the gratitude or the thankfulness she was giving to Joe Thompson. Supper is ready, said Mrs. Thompson, looking into the room. A little while afterwards Joe glanced from his wife's face to that of Maggie. She understood him and answered, she can wait until we are done, then I will bring her some things to eat. There was an effort at indifference on the part of Mrs. Thompson, but her husband had seen her through the window and understood that the coldness was assumed. Joe waited after sitting down to the table for his wife to introduce a subject uppermost in both of their thoughts, but she kept silent on that theme for many minutes and he maintained a like reserve. At last she said abruptly, what are you going to do with the child? Now, when dinner was ready, his wife peeped inside the room to call him for dinner. Then he looked at Maggie and at Mrs. Thompson. Mrs. Thompson understood what he wanted to say and said that she can wait. I will bring some things for her after we are done. The voice in which she used to speak in which she was speaking was having indifference, and it seemed as if now her nature is somewhat changing. Now, after they sat into the table, he expected that his wife would speak something about this topic of Maggie, but she kept silent. So, at the end of, after a few minutes, sorry, Mrs. Thompson said that, "What are you going to do with this child?" "I thought you understood me that she was to go to the poorhouse," replied Joe, as if surprised at her question. He said that, "I thought in the morning you have understood properly that I'll take her to the poorhouse." Mrs. Thompson looked rather strangely at her husband for sonic moments and then dropped her eyes. The subject was not again referred to during the meal. At its close, Mrs. Thompson toasted a slice of bread, softened it with milk and butter, added to this a cup of tea. She took them into Maggie and held the small waiter on which she had placed them, while the hungry child ate with every sign of pleasure. "Is it good?" asked Mrs. Thompson, seeing with what a keen relish the food was taken. Now, Mrs. Thompson, she did not answer anything. She strangely looked at Mr. Thompson. Then, after the dinner, she toasted a slice of bread. She made it soft with butter and milk and added a cup of tea to it, and then brought into the room of Maggie. She laid a waiter on which she could keep the things so that Maggie could eat them, and Maggie was eating them interestingly. Then she asked Maggie if it was good. The child paused with a cup in her hand and answered with a look of gratitude that awoke to new life old human feelings which had been slumbering in her heart for half a score of years. Now, when Mrs. Thompson asked, "Is it good?" the child was having a cup of tea, and the way she looked at Mrs. Thompson had aroused the motherly feelings which were slumbered in her heart for half a score of years. That means about 5 to 10 years. She was motherless. That motherly feeling was gradually arising in her. "We'll keep her a day or two longer. She is so weak and helpless," said Mrs. Joe Thompson in answer to her husband's remark at breakfast time on the next morning, but that he must step down and see the guardians of the poor about Maggie. Next morning, during the breakfast, Mrs. Thompson requested him to keep her a day or two longer because she was sick and helpless and very weak also. Because Joe Thompson was saying that I'm going to the poorhouse to look for guardians. "She'll be so much in your way," said Joe. "I shan't mind that for a day or two. Poor thing." Joe Thompson said that she will be disturbing you in your work. And Mrs. Thompson said, I do not mind it. I'll take care of everything." Joe did not see the guardians of the poor on that day, on the next, or nor on the other day following. In fact, he never saw them at all on Maggie's account, for in less than a week, Mrs. Thompson would as soon leave thought of taking up her own abode in the almshouse as sending Maggie there. So Joe Thompson did not look for the guardians in the poorhouse. He did not look for the other day, then the other day, then the other day. And he never, in fact, he did not see the parents for her. Because Mrs. Thompson was so much attached to the child now. What light and blessing did that sick and helpless child bring to the home of Joe Thompson, the poor wheelwright? It had been dark and cold and miserable there for a long time just because his wife had nothing to love and care for out of herself, and so became sore, irritable, ill tempered, and self afflicting in the desolation of her woman's nature. Now, here we are told by the author that the light and blessing that Maggie had brought into the life of the Thompsons was quite, you can say, different from the cold and the dark days that they were leading, as his wife did not have anyone to take care of, to love for, to care for. That is why she had become irritable, self centered, self afflicting, and hard hearted. Now, the sweetness of that sick child looking ever to her in love, patience, and gratitude was as honey to her soul. Now, whenever the sick child, Maggie used to look at her in love, in patience, and in gratitude that used to move her from inside. It was just like a honey to her soul. And she carried her in her heart as well as in her arms, a precious burden. Sometimes she used to carry her. Then she used to carry her memories, her sweet actions in her heart also. As for Joe Thompson, there was not a man in all the neighborhood who drank daily of a more precious wine of life than he. Joe Thompson considered himself to be the most luckiest person among his neighbors because he used to drink a wine of love daily in his house. It was a wine of joy. An angel had come into their house disguised as a sick, helpless child. So, this child seemed to be an angel for both of them, which had filled their life with happiness and filled all his dreary chambers with sunshine of life. This means that ultimately both the husband and wife had taken up Maggie as their own child. Now let's look at the theme. So there are two themes in the story. One is selfishness versus selflessness. In this story, as we have read, Mr. Joe Thompson was a selfless person while his wife was selfish. And here we have seen that Farmer Jones, after the death of the mother of the three children, he took away John with him so that he could help him in his farm. While Mrs. Ellis, she took the second one, Katie, with her in order to make her as a maid. But none of them, none of the villagers ever bothered to take up Maggie because no one was ready to serve a bedridden child. At this moment, when everyone was turning their faces away from that little child, only Mr. Joe Thompson, the wheelwright of the village, was touched with passion and pity for that child, and he took her as a precious burden in his arms. When he reached home, his wife could not accept that child immediately, but later on, his wife had to change her opinion when she was touched by the love and the innocence of that child. So, love as a redeemer means initially his wife, Joe Thompson's wife, was a hard hearted woman. As they were childless for many years, they did not have any child. So, she had turned into a hard hearted woman, having no compassion for anyone. But as soon as Maggie entered the house, she became an angel in disguise who had turned the character of Mrs. Joe Thompson, that is Jane, into a loving lady who started loving that innocent, poor little child. This transformation took place as soon as Maggie had entered their house. So Mrs. Thompson gets angry initially when her husband had brought that little child to their house. But later on, when she reached into the room of Maggie, and after having talked with her, she immediately became a transformed lady. So at the end, also, then she asked Mr. Joe Thompson to keep Maggie with them for a day or two, and then later on, days and days passed on, and she did not force her husband to take Maggie to the poor house. And later on, Maggie became a source of love and happiness in their life as she became an angel in disguise. Now, according to the critical appreciation, ambiguous angel in disguise means nobody could expect that a little child, a crippled child, could ever become the source of happiness and joy for a couple who were childless. Because according to the author, now Maggie became an angel for these two people who had for years had no child with them, no children, and due to which Mr. Joe Thompson's wife Jane Thompson had turned into a selfish woman, a self centered woman who did not care for anybody's good. But then later on, as Maggie entered into their house and having a talk with her, she gradually turned into a loving woman. And this you can say the sleeping emotions which were there in her heart, the somber solitude of her heart had gone away, and the sleeping emotions of mother, the motherly feelings, they immediately rose in her, and she accepted Maggie as a child. So here this story ends, and hope you people have understood it. If you have understood it, you can press the like button and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.